Today in writing, we're going to talk about contractions. The reason that we're adding contractions, right, with this lesson on helping verbs is because that is typically when we use a lot of contractions. Now, contractions. So the title of today's lesson is contractions. So you should be opened up to a clean page in your English notebook. Make sure that you're writing everything I read on the board unless I say you don't have to write this. If I say you don't have to write this, then you don't have to write it. If I don't say that, you just assume you have to write it. So the title is Contractions, and make sure you have the date. It's March 26th, 2020. So, first of all, what is a contraction? Contraction, oops, I don't want an S there. A contraction is a word that combines two words and leaves out some letters. So when we create a contraction, we're combining two words. Now we're not just smushing those two words together because one or both of the words may lose some letters. We also use an apostrophe for the letters that have been left out. So wherever those letters that got left out were, that's where the apostrophe will be. So, for example, the word can not, or the words can and not, are combined to create can't. Okay, so we have this apostrophe here because we're missing the letters N and O. Now, usually we only use words, the forms of have and be to create contractions. Now, I'm going to tell you how to how to create contractions with different smaller words. So first of all, to create a contraction with the word not. So if you want to create a contraction with the word not, you are going to add the letter N to the end of the first word. So you take your first word, whatever you're creating, and you add an N to the end of it, unless it already ends with N, like the word can. So you add the letter N to the end of the first word, then you put an apostrophe to replace the O, the letter O in not, or sometimes the N and the O if your first word ends with N. Then write the letter T. Okay? And that goes for every time you you want to make a contraction with the word not. So, for example, has not, we take our first word, has, we add an N to the end, we put an apostrophe to replace the letter O, and then we put the T. If we have is not, we write our first word, we add the letter N, we put apostrophe to replace the O, and then we write a T. And that goes for any time you want to make a contraction of the word, including the word not. Just add an N to the end of the first word, put an apostrophe to replace the O, sometimes the N if your first word ends with N, and then put a T. There are only certain words that you can add not to and create, and it's usually helping verbs. Helping verbs can have can be contracted with the word not. Okay, so we just talked about how to create contractions with the word not. Now we're going to talk about how to create a contraction with the word, let's do is. So make sure that you rewrite underneath where you did not, because I don't have enough room to do it all. Make sure you rewrite to create a contraction with is. And so what you do is you just write the first word, whatever the first word in your contraction is, add an apostrophe. Oops, spelled that wrong. Add an apostrophe to replace the letter I. Then add the letter S. So for example, she is becomes, we write the first word, oops, sorry, I keep wanting to capitalize that for some reason. We write the first word, which is she, write an apostrophe to replace the I, and add an S. Or, if we wanted to say he is, we would write the first word, he, replace the I with an apostrophe, and then write S. And that's what you do anytime you want to contract two words when the second word is. Now, I'm going to erase all this, so if you need to pause, go do that. Pause it and write. Now, let's talk about, excuse me, how to, so make sure, I'm going to just use what I already have, but you're going to have to rewrite. If we want to create a contraction with the word and. Now there's only one case that we can create a contraction with the word and it's when you have I am. I am. You can only use the helping word, the helping verb am with the word I. You can't say she am, you can't say Miss Bolus am, you can't say he am, you can't say any of that. So what you do is write the word I, add an apostrophe to replace the A in am, then add the letter M. So I am, we write the word I, we add an apostrophe to replace the A in am, and then we write the M. That's the only time you can do that, and that's all you have to do. Okay, go ahead and pause this video if you need to stop and write. Okay, now go ahead and write underneath to create a contraction with, because we are now going to talk about how to create a contraction with the word are. And what you do here is, again, you write the first word. So you write the first word, then add an apostrophe to replace the letter A. Then add the letters. Now this time you're going to add two letters because you're going to add the letters R-E. So if you wanted to say, they are, first you would write the first word, they. Then you add an apostrophe to replace the A in R, and then you write the letters R-E. Now this is going to come up in just a minute. They are becomes there. You are, well, we write the first word, which is you. Then we add an apostrophe to replace the A, and then we write R-E for your. That will also come up in just a minute, so pay close attention. When you see there, spelled like this, T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E, it means they are. Nothing else. That's all it means is they are. If you see your spelled Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, it means you are. Pay close attention to what I just said. Okay, if I was going too fast, go ahead and pause now and finish the notes. Okay, now go ahead underneath where you wrote how to create contractions with the word are. Rewrite to create a contraction with, because now we're going to talk about how to create contractions with the word will. So first, what you do is write the first word, whatever it is, then add an apostrophe to replace the letters. So this time we're replacing more than one letter because we're replacing the letters W-I in will. Then add the letters L-L. So for example, I will, well, we write the first word, which is I, add an apostrophe to replace the W-I, and then add L-L. If we wanted to say, you will, you would say, write the first word, add the apostrophe to replace the W-I, and then add the LL. And that goes anytime you want to create a, no matter what the subject is, anytime you want to create a contraction with the word will, you write the first word, add an apostrophe to replace the letters W-I, and then add the letters LL. underneath where you wrote how to create a contraction with will, go ahead and rewrite to create a contraction with, because now we're going to talk about how to create contractions with the word have. So just a minute ago, we were able to create contractions with all of the present and future forms of be, because we were able to use is, am, and are, which are the present forms of be, and we were able to make contractions using the future form of be, which is will. We cannot create contractions with the past tense forms of be, like was and were. It's the same with the word have. Has and had are both past tense. We cannot create contractions where the second word is the word has or had. We can only create contractions where the second word is have. And to do that, you write the first word, whatever it is, then add an apostrophe to replace the letters HA. So first you write the first word, then you add an apostrophe to replace the letters HA. Then add the letters VE. So, for example, if you want to create a contraction of the words I have, you would write the first word, which is I, add an apostrophe to replace the HA, and then add the letters VE. If you wanted to write they have, you would write the first word, they, put an apostrophe to replace the HA, and then write VE. And that is how you would contract anytime you want your second word to be have. Now, underneath where you just wrote how to create contractions with the word have, go ahead and write to create a contraction with, because we're going to talk about the last new thing we're going to talk about today, which is to create a contraction with would. W-O-U-L-D. You cannot create a contraction with could or should as the second word, but you can create one with would. So in order to do that, you write the first word, you write the first word, then add an apostrophe to replace the letters W-O-U-L. So you replace almost all of this word with that apostrophe. Then add the letter D. So what that looks like is if you wanted to say he would, it would look like, well, we write the first word, he, we add the apostrophe to replace W-O-L, and then we add a D. If you wanted to say you would write the word you, write an apostrophe to replace W-O-U-L, and then write a D. And that's how you would do anytime you want would to be the second word of your contraction. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about some very important differences between some words that sound the same before we get to the guided practice. So, you will take notes on this. Go ahead and pause if you need to go back and watch. And then we're going to talk about there, and your, and your. Okay, so first, let's talk about the words your, Y-O-U-R, and the word your, Y-O-U-R-E. Now, these words are homophones. That means they sound the same, but they have different meaning. You cannot use this one where this one goes, and you cannot use this one where this one goes. So the word your, spelled Y-O-U-R, shows that something belongs to you. So, an example where you would use this, make sure you're writing this in your notebook. An example where you would use this is, please clean up your, Y-O-U-R, room. You are talking about, whoever is telling you to please clean up your room is talking about the room that belongs to you. That is the only time that you can use your, when you're talking about something that belongs to you. It is a possessive word. Remember, possessive means shows ownership. Your, spelled Y-O-U''R-E, is a contraction for you and are. So that means if you're using Y-O-U''R-E, you are not showing ownership. You are using the contraction for the subject you and the verb are. So for example, Y-O-U''R-E, you're late for school. That says the same thing as you are late for school. It's not saying that you have late. That's not even something that you can have. It's saying you are late for school. So whenever you want to use Y-O-U''R-E, make sure that you can replace that word with you are, and it makes sense. Look what happens when we try to replace this your with you are. Please clean up you are room. That does not make sense at all. That's saying that you are a room. And that's not true, and it does not work. So if you are trying to show that you own something, you use Y-O-U-R. If you are trying to contract the words you and are, you would use Y-O-U''R-E. You do have, on your independent practice, you do have something to practice showing that you understand the difference between your and your. Now, let's talk about the homophones. There, spelled T-H-E-R-E. There, spelled T-H-E-I-R. And there, spelled T-H-E''R-E. Now, if you're using the word there, spelled T-H-E-R-E, you are using it to refer to a place. Refers to a place. It will help you because the word here is inside the word there, and here is a place. Right here is a place. There also refers to a place. So you could say, for example, my backpack is over there. over there. It's in a place. It's not right here. It's over there. So you're talking about a place. The word there, spelled T-H-E-I-R, means it belongs to them, whoever them is. There, T-H-E-R, is just like your, Y-O-U-R, where it's possessive. It shows that something belongs to them, whoever they are. So, for example, I went over to their, T-H-E-I-R, house. They, or whoever they are, have a house. You cannot use this there up here because over here, you're not saying that anything belongs to them. You're talking about a place. You cannot use this here because you cannot say I went over to a place, house. That doesn't make sense. You're showing that they have a house. T-H-E-Y'-R-E is a contraction for they and are. So you would use that whenever you want to shorten the words they are. So for example, they're, T-H-E-Y'-R-E, they're on the way over. You can replace that with they are. They are on the way over. You cannot replace any of these other ones with they are. My backpack is over they are. That does not make sense. I went over to they are house. Again, that doesn't make sense. They are on the way. That does. So whenever you can say they are, you can use T-H-E-Y'-R-E. Whenever you're talking about a place, you can use there, T-H-E-R-E. Whenever you're saying that something belongs to them, you can say T-H-E-I-R. Make sure that you use these notes to help you with your independent practice, which is on your and your, and there, or there. Okay, now we're going to do the guided practice together, and then we'll be done with English for the day. So go ahead, get out your packet with today's work in it, and then go ahead and open it to the first page. There is front and back, so we'll do the front together first. I know it's hard to see, so just make sure that you follow along and you know where we are. Okay, so what I want you to do right now is I want you to read along with me as I read these bullet points at the top. A contraction is a shortened form of two words. A contraction can be made by combining certain verbs with the word not. An apostrophe shows that the letter O has been left out. Examples of contractions are is and not equal isn't, did plus not equals didn't. So for this sheet, we're going to only be working with not. So we know the steps for creating a contraction with the word not is step 1, write the first word. Step 2, add the letter N. Step 3, add an apostrophe to replace the O. And step 4, add the letter T. So, number 1, what we're doing is we're reading each sentence and writing the contraction for each set of underlined words. So, number 1, Annie has not finished sorting the bags of donated clothes. Well, we have has not, so we know first we write the first word, has, then we add an N, then we add an apostrophe to replace the O, and then we add a T, so now we have Annie hasn't finished sorting the bags of donated clothes. Number 2, Chris is not making cookies for himself, but will sell them at the bake sale. Well, we know, first we write the first word, which is, then we add an N, then we add an apostrophe to replace the O, and then we have a T. So now we have Chris isn't making cookies for himself, but will sell them at the bake sale. Number 3, Gina does not use these toys anymore, so she will donate them. Well, write the first word does, add N, then an apostrophe, then a T. Gina doesn't use these toys anymore, so she will donate them. Number 4, Stacy and Stephen will help too because they are not selfish. So we have are not. Step 1, write the first word, then add a T, then add an apostrophe to replace the O, then add the T. So we have Stacy and Stephen will help too because they aren't selfish. Number 5, Sam could not make it to the bake sale, but he raked leaves at the park. So we write the first word could, add an N, then the apostrophe, and then a T. So now we have Sam couldn't make it to the bake sale, but he raked leaves in the park. Number 6, we should not bring toys to the hospital after 8 p.m. We have should not. So first, we're going to write the first word should, then we're going to add an N, an apostrophe, and a T. So we shouldn't bring toys to the hospital after 8 p.m. Number 7, Carlos enjoyed his work at the soup kitchen so much that he did not want to leave. We have did not. So first, we're going to write the word did. Then we're going to add an N, then an apostrophe, and a T. So we have Carlos enjoyed his work at the soup kitchen so much that he didn't want to leave. I know I'm going so fast. My iPad is dying again. So just go ahead. If you need to pause, pause. If you need to rewind, rewind. Do whatever you need to. I'm sorry. Number 8, Amy and Alex do not want to work at the animal shelter on Thursdays. So we have do not. So we write our first word do, add the N, then an apostrophe, and then a T. And now we have Amy and Alex don't want to work at the animal shelters. Oh, I'm sorry. Amy and Alex don't work at the animal shelter on Thursdays. Number 9, Karen and Stanley have not decided yet where to volunteer. So we have not. So we take the first word have, add an N, then an apostrophe, and a T. So we have Karen and Stanley haven't decided yet where to volunteer. And the last one on the front, number 10, the volunteers were not needed at the nursing home today. We have were not, so we're going to write our first word were. Then we're going to add an N, an apostrophe, and a T. So now we have the volunteers weren't needed at the nursing home today. Okay, if you need to rewind because I was going fast, go ahead and do that. If not, go ahead and turn to the back and we'll do that together. Okay, so now we're on the last part of today's writing lesson. So you should be turning to the back of today's guided practice to the sheet that's called Shortcut Spelling. So what the directions tell us to do is to read the letter from Sherry's shortcut. Then we're going to follow the directions to find the contraction. And they've got the first one done for you. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to read this letter, and every time I come across a contraction, I'm going to go ahead and, sorry about that, I'm going to go ahead and underline it. That way when I get to the bottom, I know I'm not missing anything. So, dear friend, my name's, well, we've got one there, Sherry's shortcut. I look for shorter ways to do things. It's fun and it saves time. I don't like to clean my room, so I use a shortcut. I pick up my toys after I play. I wouldn't leave them on the floor. There's another one. I'd have to pick them up later if I did that. Sometimes I use a shortcut for writing. It's called using contractions. Oh, and now we have it's. Can you find and circle all of the contractions I've used? Well, we underlined, but that's okay. If you want to go back and circle, you can. If you just want to leave the underlining, that's fine too. You'll find 10 of them in this letter. When you've found them, write each contraction below, then write the 2 words each one stands for. You're going to know a lot about contractions. Your friend, Sherry Shortcut. So what I did is, as I read this letter, anytime I came across a word with an apostrophe in it, I went ahead and underlined it. Well, what I did first was I checked to make sure it wasn't possessive, and then I underlined it. So I have found, let's make sure I found 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I found them. So now what I'm going to do is, in order, I'm going to write them on these lines, and then I'm going to show what two smaller words created that contraction. They did the first one for us. The first one is names. And we know, based on our rule, that if you add an S, an apostrophe S, you're using is. So we have name, is. Next, we have the word its. We have another S at the end, which means we added S. Our first word is it, and our second word is. Try to make this clear. The next word is don't. Make sure that as you're working, you're looking in your notebook at how to create contractions with different words. Well, we know if we have a T at the end and an N before the apostrophe, that means our second word is not. Then we look at what comes before that N to figure out what the first one was, and we have do. The next word is wouldn't. Again, we have a T at the end with an apostrophe and an N right before it, so we know our second word is not. The word that comes before the N is would, so we know the 2 words are would not. The next one, I'd. Well, we know if we add a D to the end, it means we have would. And then we look before the apostrophe to see what the other word is, and it is I, so our 2 smaller words are I would. Next, we have its again. Well, we've already done that once, so we'll just copy what we have there. We know an S after an apostrophe means is. It comes before the apostrophe, so we have it is. Number 7, we have I've. Well, we know based on our rules that if we have an apostrophe VE, that means our second word is have. Whatever comes before the apostrophe is the first word. So we have I have. 8, we have you'll. Based on our rules, we know if we end with apostrophe LL, our second word is will. And whatever comes before the apostrophe is our first word, so we have you will. Number 9 is you've. Just like number 7, we know if we end with apostrophe VE, our second word is have. And whatever comes before the apostrophe is the first word, so we have you have. And the last one, number 10, we have, just like that one we talked about and what you're going to be working on in your independent practice, we have your. We know that we're not saying that somebody owns going. We are saying you are. Okay, good job. Go ahead and now work on the independent practice, which is the next page. So you finish the shortcut spelling with me. And then you turn over, and first you're going to work on your and your. Make sure you have your notes out. Also, pay attention to what this box says. That's going to clear up what each of the words means. Then follow the directions. When you're done with the front page, turn to the back, and you're going to do the same thing with there, and there. Make sure you read this box because it's going to tell you exactly what each word means. And then read and follow the directions. Okay, good job, guys, and I'll see you later.